This is Success Stories, a program of the Sorrell College of Business at Troy University. I'm your host, Alan Mendenhall, Associate Dean of the Sorrell College of Business at Troy University and Executive Director of the Manuel H. Johnson Center for Political Economy. Success Stories is a program that highlights the lives and careers of people who have accomplished great things. My guest today is a seasoned media professional, Wayne Reid. Wayne is the Executive Director of Alabama Public Television. Wayne, it's great to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be on the show.
Well, we'll start with an easy question. What are some of the things that APT is up to these days?
There's a lot of things we're up to right now. Programming-wise, we've got new seasons of PBS programming that is coming out. We've got All Creatures Great and Small, a lot of new series that way. Locally, we're working on a new series that's going to come out Thanksgiving. And it's going to be the life cycle, basically it's a year's worth of documentary that we've done on seeds, and it's the seed groups that collect these heritage seeds from around the state. They do seed swaps, and it's kind of the whole season of how those are planted, and then how they take those and get seeds again. So it's going to be a good journey proud that we have. We're excited about that coming up. We've got several other new local shows that are coming out. One documentary coming out from JSU on can't think of his name, Randy Owens, has a concert series that he's doing for the new center that they're doing. So a lot of new local programming that coming up. Big things I'm working on right now are a lot of things that we're doing to try to build up the infrastructure of Alabama Public Television. We've got studios here in Montgomery that we're trying to get back up and running. We're shooting some stuff there right now, but trying to have more production going over there. The new State House is getting built. We're going to have a new studio that's going to be going into that. So all that, we're in the planning processes right now. It's like, 2 years from now, but everything we're doing right now is leading up to having it ready to go in 2 years. So a lot of engineering things that are going on. We've got a new tower that's going to be going in Lamar County, which will give us complete coverage of over-the-air broadcast for the state. So there's a lot of engineering stuff going on right now. I would say a lot of infrastructure.
Yeah, one fascinating thing about your role is that it requires a diverse array of knowledge. You have to know very technical things, such as engineering and equipment. It's not just that you have a background in media and that you've been on television and that you've been on radio, and then you also have to manage budgets, manage people, make business decisions. How did you get into this role? People aren't just born CEOs.
Yeah, it's I've done a little bit of everything in my career. I would say one of my favorite stories. People ask, "How did you get in it?" And how did you? I worked at WHOA here in Montgomery. Back, I think it's WNCF now.
Is that where you started your career?
Yeah, started in TV there at WHOA, and we had a small staff, and I was a salesperson there, and I went out and sold some advertising, and I said, I need to get a commercial put together. And they said, well, it'll be about 3 weeks before we can have somebody go out and shoot a commercial for you. And I was like, I can't wait 3 weeks to get this done. So I said, show me how to use the camera. Show me how to do. So I wrote my own spots. I'd go on the weekends and use the camera, shoot my stuff, go back and set with the editors and edit the spots. And so I literally had my hands in a lot of stuff that normally most people don't get to do. I got to run cameras for newscasts because they would need somebody to come in, run the teleprompter. So it's just one of those things, learning all these different things you needed to do that had to be done, and you just had to learn how to do them. So working in a small environment like the crew that we had there really taught me a lot of the things that have helped me as my career's got along. So I went from there and to St. Louis, which was a bigger market, so I learned things there. And then you learn the business side of it. As a salesperson, you had to learn all the different businesses that you were selling, how they operate and how that works. Engineering is probably the most difficult because everything changes so rapidly. So I try to read, keep up what's going with that, talk to the engineers. I still don't know the in-depth stuff that they know. So you got to have really good engineers that can help give it to you in simplified terms. And you just got to ask a lot of questions. Why can't we do this? Why can't we do this? How can we do that? It's jumping into Alabama Public Television was really interesting because we have an education department, and I had no idea anything about education. So just learning that part of it as well. So
yeah, that's fascinating. Your story is surprisingly parallel to that of a previous guest I had, John Allison, who was the CEO of BB&T, and he began at a bank young in his career. I don't know, how old were you when you started in Montgomery?
23.
23, yeah, he was roughly that age, and he started at a bank and started doing all the basic jobs and learned what everybody at the bank did long before he ever became CEO, whereas many bank CEOs come in and they don't know the ins and outs of what people do at different levels. And I think that experience is probably valuable.
It is. I think working from the ground up, and it gives you a lot of respect too for the people that are working. I've had people that have come in and worked with me and have never done some of the stuff that I've done, and they go, "Oh, well, doing that, you just do that. It just magically happens." And I'm like, "No, it takes time, and this is what goes into developing a commercial, developing this or editing this or that, or all those different things. If you know how they work, you have a better expectation and appreciation for what people do. I think that helps. Hopefully, that helps me when I deal with our people, is to be able to be empathetic and know what they're going through and what the time and the effort that it takes to make things really good television, as opposed to just thinking it magically happens."
What is the most difficult part of the job, the current one?
The current one? I think right now it's keeping up with all the different changes in technology. And we're getting ready to go through a new stage with ASTC 3.0.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
And the possibilities that brings, and are a little bit, I said mind-blowing. I was telling one of our workers yesterday, I said, it's kind of mind-blowing to think about what this technology could do for our industry.
Explain what the technology is, because I'm sure most people hearing that phrase, that term, don't know what it means.
It basically, I'm trying to think. So think of, you could take your cell phone, and with the right chip in it, you can get a television signal in your phone. So you could pick up all the television signals. It's using the television signal like you use the internet. So you don't have to, like if you wanted to do a Zoom call right now, you have to go plug into the internet and do everything that you have to do to connect. Well, this will allow you to do it just through a broadcast. You can just connect to a tower and do the same type of thing. So it's going to give us a lot to do with our spectrum.
And right before you joined APTV, you were with Sinclair Broadcast Group. What did you do in that capacity? Because you were there quite a long time, what, 12 years?
Yeah, about 12 years. I ran the sales department, the production department, our traffic department. I'm trying to think what else did. I oversaw Talk of Alabama, which was a local talk show that we did on the mornings, weekdays. So I got my hands involved in a little bit of everything. We had 3 stations, and then we had over 100 digital products that we sold. So
some people might assume that APT doesn't require sales. You've got a sales background, you've got a marketing background. Some people might think, oh, APT doesn't need sales because it's funded. It's funded by appropriations or whatever. That is not true, is it?
So yeah, we do get appropriations. So the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, does fund us.
That part's true,
right?
But the fact that it doesn't require marketing, advertising, sales, part
of it, we have to market ourselves to the state and get people to watch us. But we do have underwriters. And sponsors of our programs are just different types of advertising.
And lots of grant funding.
Yeah, we do a lot of grant funding. So, I think for us, our marketing is our marketing to the viewers, marketing to our members that we have. And then our grant marketing what we're doing. So it takes a little bit of that. Basically, I'm selling to the legislature a lot too. Yeah. I'm then telling them what we're doing and how we're benefiting the state. My big thing with this is always that. Corporations, you're always trying to make money for the corporation. What we try to do now is serve the state, serve the citizens, serve the legislature, make sure that we're in the classrooms helping teach the teachers. We're doing a jobs program right now with personnel because the state needs people to fill jobs. And so we put together a 30-minute show to show all the different departments and what they're doing and how people can apply for state jobs. So we're trying to be of value to the state too, because they fund us as well. And then the other thing I'm doing right now is trying to find other revenue streams for Alabama Public Television. I think that's one of the things when they brought me in was having a commercial career and kind of bringing that in and looking at what we were doing and how can we still bring in revenue to help support what we're doing for the state. I mean, that's part of what the state wants us to do is to help, provide for ourselves, So that's why getting those studios up in Madison Avenue up and running where we can hopefully lease space, or the movie business is starting to pick up here in Alabama, rent our studio space if we can, start bringing in revenue to help support ourselves.
Well, say something about what you're doing immediately after this interview.
All right, so I'm going to go pick up pizza, but we've got 6 teams right now over at our studios in Madison Avenue. We're shooting Scholars Bowl. The high school students are shooting today and tomorrow, so we'll have 16 episodes. We'll crown a champion tomorrow, and then those will start coming out beginning of November and run through January, and then we'll be back in November, end of November, and we're going to be taping for the middle school. But part of that is we think it's great to highlight these kids. These kids are unbelievable. I was over there listening to the questions they had earlier this morning, and I was like, I have no clue. I mean, these kids are really, really cool.
Yeah, we don't want to go up against them and embarrass ourselves.
Not at all.
We like to film them and watch them and not participate.
I look at these kids and go, these are kids that are future going to be on Jeopardy someday.
Yeah. Well, you hear a lot in the media, online, about general anxiety over social media and what that's doing. When I was young, it was all television rots your brain. And this is something that is common, a common criticism of new technologies going back probably forever. I mean, you think of the Gutenberg press and all the anxiety that brought. People are going to translate the Bible into the common idiom, and what is this going to do to countries and classes and things like that. There always seems to be a new iteration of the same sort of technological anxiety. And I'm wondering what your experience has been sort of harnessing technology for educational purposes and how that feels and what that's like, and taking what was basically an object of criticism, at least during my childhood, and using it as a useful tool, a vehicle for pedagogy and for learning and knowledge and understanding.
They said TV rotted your brain. Well, it depends on what you watched. I mean, if you watched Sesame Street or you watched Mr. Rogers or you watched programming that was educational for you, I mean, Jeopardy is a perfect example. It's a great way people learn a lot of different things that way. So it really depends on what you're watching. And that's really what we strive with Alabama Public Television, is to be able to bring the variety of programming that's educational as far as arts and culture and math and science and
STEM. There's a lot of STEM.
There's a lot of STEM stuff that we do too. Yeah, I mean, we do Alabama STEM Explorers. So that's what we're trying to do, is harness that television for good, and we're trying to do stuff that we're working with the legislature right now. One of the things they want us to do is do some programming to tell junior high and high school students, and I remember when I was there too, you don't know what you want to do. You have no idea what's out there, and until you get out and experience. So we're trying to lay out for them, you can go to technical school and there's jobs that you can do, and here's what you can do. You can go to community college, you can go to Troy, you can go to Auburn or Alabama, but every one of those, there's a place for everyone within that system somewhere. And some people will go to school and some people won't, but trying to provide the educational outlets to have people trained for the workforce to be able to do that. And so we're trying to do that and get it into the schools early enough so kids can start thinking about what I want to do.
Well, that's one purpose of this show, is actually to highlight people from different backgrounds and who have different experiences, to show there's not one path to success. There are many different ways you can be successful, and many different career paths you can choose. So I'm gonna make a confession that you probably shouldn't make on air, which is that I have DirecTV app on my phone, and often as I'm driving, I have some DirecTV station playing, and it's usually the news. Does not mean I'm watching. It means I'm mostly listening, but I have that playing. APT has an app as well.
Yes, we do. Yes.
And you can watch virtually all programming, right? Synchronous or asynchronous.
Yeah. We have our app. You can watch it online. You can use your computer and watch it. We're on all streaming devices basically now. If you've got Hulu, DirecTV, YouTube TV, cable. I mean, we're everywhere. We're trying to be, any place, anywhere, anyhow you want to watch. Whether you want to stream it live, you want to go back and look at old programming, we've got all that available. And I have to admit, I do that on Saturdays and Sundays. I have football playing. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but I think we're not uncommon in that regard. But how would, let's say a teacher is wondering how to use APT in the classroom. How do I incorporate this material into my curricula or something like that? What do you tell?
So if you go to aptv.org and go to our education page, there's a tab called Ready to Learn. And on the Ready to Learn tab, it depends on if you want early childhood education, you want K through 12, and then it breaks it down to in like first through third, and then junior high and high school. So there's content on there for any teacher to use at any time. through our Ready to Learn program. And that's content that we've created here in Alabama, as well as through the PBS system in the entire country. All that stuff comes together. So there's STEM stuff in there from stations all over the country that have put things together. And most all of them, if they're on Ready to Learn, have the curriculum that goes with it, and tests and that sort of stuff in there that gives the supplies and things that the teachers need to be able to use it in the classroom.
Well, your career started right here where we're sitting, Montgomery, not in this building, but in this city. But your career has taken you to different states, cities. You've been in Missouri, you've been in Florida. Tell the story.
So I before I got into TV, I was in radio. I would confess this: I went to Auburn for a year and thought I wanted to be an electrical engineer. Realized rather quickly that I was not smart enough in math. I couldn't get far enough in math. I was pretty good at math, but not that smart.
I was an English major, so I sympathize.
Yeah, so, and then quite honestly, by the time I got done with my freshman year, I had no idea what I wanted to do. My family was moving back to Kansas. My grandfather was a professor in southeastern Kansas, and I went to school there, and I literally took a woodworking class for manufacturing wood stuff, plastics class, computer class. I just started taking, my granddad said, just take all these classes until you find something that sparks an interest, and then go after that. And so I ended up taking an introduction to advertising class and fell in love with advertising, and so got a journalism degree as part of that. So then I went, I did some internship at a radio station, which is how I ended up working on radio in Missouri, and then got my first TV job here in Montgomery at WHOA. And from there, ended up going to St. Louis, which was a big market. It was a top 20 market at the time, and coming from Montgomery to St. Louis was quite an eye-opener, but I got to sell a lot of sports, sold Cardinals baseball and St. Louis Blues hockey, so totally different than the ABC experience that I had here in Montgomery. Was there for a couple of years. The lady that actually recruited me to come to St. Louis left and went to Orlando, and she called me up after she left and said, I need you down here in Orlando, and went to work for a CBS affiliate in Orlando for about 9 years. And that was with the Post-Newsweek station. So the Washington Post and then Newsweek magazine had 6 TV stations around the country. So I was working for them, and then they transferred it to Jacksonville. And basically that was the first time I was running an entire sales organization. And it was independent stations. What was it, WGXT, Channel 4, the local station in Jacksonville, Florida. If you've ever been there, it's the boomer station there. And then after about 5 years there, got recruited to come to Birmingham and went to the ABC affiliate up there, ABC 3340. Sinclair bought us after about 3 years. And then we had My 68 and CW21, so we had 3 stations plus all of our digital products. So spent almost 12 years there, and was getting groomed to be the general manager there. My boss was probably within a year of retiring when all of a sudden I got recruited by Alabama Public Television, which was, I never thought I would be at Alabama Public Television.
Yeah, it's been three years? Is that how long? Or 3, 4?
Since for APT?
Yeah,
a year and a half.
A year and a half, that's it. I thought it was longer than that. Wow, okay.
At times it seems that way, yeah.
Well, tell me what you think the future of radio is. I know there seems to be always a place for the morning shows. People listen to the morning shows on the way to work, but when we were just talking about how we listen to our phone and people listen to podcasting and if you can put on Pandora or something where it's selected based on your own personal preferences rather than some DJ or whatever.
I could see radio. I don't think radio will ever go away.
Yeah.
But I could see the number of stations getting smaller. Yeah. And the cost of broadcasting is extraordinary. I mean, it's high. And it's tough, but people want local news. They want their local football. I want my local football station on because I can catch my high school sport, or I want to know what happened at the city council meeting last night. I mean, people still want that local connection and what's going on. So I can see the number of stations shrinking, but if you look at iHeart and some of these other, they've really embraced the podcasting side of it too. So they're taking those same people doing the podcast and really embracing that. So I think you'll still have those connections. I just don't know as there'll be as many stations producing that the content on it like a live daily basis.
See, I'm one of these odd people who does not listen to podcasts. I just never have gotten into podcasting.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but maybe it says something about me and not the medium.
Yeah, I think you have to find. I wasn't a big podcaster, and I'm still not. I have like a couple. I love true crime drama stuff, so I have 2 podcasts that I kind of catch up on that sort of stuff. And I'm just a little. Maybe I'm morbid, and morbid is the one of them that I like. I just love the stories of the I don't know what it is about it, but it's interesting. And a lot of times on some of those, you find out about the victims, and you really come to understand them, and just trying to figure out what make people tick. I guess that's a big part of it.
I think my issue is that I'm very much a writer. So whenever I'm hearing stuff, I'm wanting to produce stuff simultaneously.
Right.
And if I'm driving in the car, which is typically where I would listen to a podcast, I can't write. I can't be an engaged listener in that way. I can't be listening and writing because I have to actually steer the car. Maybe we'll get to the technology in the car where the cars are all self-driving. I've seen those taxis where the steering wheel turns and all that. It's kind of creepy. Well, you're talking about local and community connections. And one thing APT does that is unique and very interesting to me and somewhat new, if I'm not mistaken, is covering high school football throughout the state.
So we cover the high school football championships. My goal long term is hopefully in the next 3 or 4 years is to have a nightly, not a nightly, but like a Friday night game that we could do that's a statewide game to highlight the different schools. We'll get there hopefully eventually. But right now we're just doing the championship games for football. They'll be on December 4th, 5th, and 6th this year. It's going to be in Birmingham at the new stadium uptown, the stadium that's down there, I think it's a Protective Stadium. And so we'll have the games that we're going to do there. We're also doing high school basketball, which the championship, the 14 championship games for that. So we have 9 football games, which is the 1A through 7A football boys, and then 2 flag football games for the girls, and then all 14 of the basketball championship games. So. The biggest audiences APT I think has ever had. We just started getting Nielsen ratings about the time I got to APT, and it by far puts us, I think, the biggest audience that we've ever had. We reached over 1.3 million last December. Over 1.3 million people in the state watched us at least one time during the month, which is a good reach, considering it's a little over 20% of the population is watching us. So
that's a significant reach.
Yeah. There's nobody else in the state. Because we cover the entire state. There's no other TV station that reaches that many people.
Wow.
Individual people.
Well, it would make sense that APT, sort of the state station, would do that.
Yeah.
You are a member of the University of Alabama's College in Communication and Information Sciences Board of Visitors. I think that's interesting. I think that's a very fascinating detail in your biography. What is that involve?
So Dean Butler over at the University of Alabama approached me and asked me if I'd be one of their advisors, and we have a couple of meetings, 2 or 3 meetings a year where we come over and we get introduced to the students, and students have access to ask us questions about their careers. They've got some really great things going on up there at the university. So, we're just there to kind of advise on here's what's going on out in the real world.
Sure.
And I always said when I was in college and went out to the real world, it's a big transition. And so I think what they're trying to do is be able to kind of have an entree into being able to meet people and know what the real world is like out there when you get out from outside the academic world into the real world of television or whatever it is, journalism. They've got an in-house advertising agency where these students are acting like the advertising agency, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's
that's
fantastic.
like real world experience that they're getting. I mean, these kids are coming out able to step right into a major advertising agency or start their own agency.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And I think the phrase real world is revealing because it suggests that too often in academic settings what students are doing is something artificial, something that replicates what they'll be doing in reality as a career, but that isn't that.
Yes.
And I think a failure of higher education, as somebody who's in it, I can say this, a legitimate criticism as that too often in higher education we we don't teach things that students wouldn't learn better if they were actually out there on the job. And that is a perfectly valid criticism. And I think that in higher education, we need to do a better job, in particular in the STEM or skills-based or technical fields, and showing students how to do things that they're actually going to do, rather than focusing on theory or abstractions that are maybe divorced from their everyday realities.
Well, and I think it's a criticism that, I mean, you have to know those theories, you have to know, you want that as a background, but I would encourage anybody, I did several different internships when I was in college, and I say the more you can get out and try to take what you're learning in school and put it into practice, and sometimes you take those things and you go, boy, that really doesn't work out here at all, but in theory it should, and so having that hands-on that you can do as an intern, I think is more valuable than anything you can do. I mean, having that combination of here's what the theories, here's the ideas, here's the concept, here's what's really done in practice out in the real world, is a good way to get prepared for that first job.
I 100% agree. Well, Wayne, this may surprise you, but we are actually right up against time.
Oh, wow.
And I've really enjoyed talking to you. I've enjoyed having you on the show. If you have any other parting words, I'd love to let you have the last word.
Well, Dr. Mendenhall, I appreciate you being on our board about APT, and you see the value of what APT brings. So anytime we can do, get students that want to do internships, we do internships at APT now, actually paid internships. So we'll give you real world experience in a variety of different ways. So just reach out.
Now, that sounds great. Well, thank you, Wayne. It's been great having you on the show. This has been Success Stories, a program of the Sorrell College of Business. I'm Alan Mendenhall, signing off.
This has been Success Stories with Dr. Alan Mendenhall, a production of Troy University Television. Opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Troy University, its administration, faculty, staff, or students.